Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Major Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, Mr. Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Big day for you today.
Yeah.
A new build of Windows 10 for the phone came out.
I know, it's been quite a while.
And I have, obviously, I don't have, the Windows phone that I have is pretty old, and I'm not even going to attempt to install Windows 10 on it. But people are going crazy over this. They love it.
Yeah, it's been about a month, I think, since the last build.
It has been a month since the last build.
I've had it's taken me quite a while to get these phones updated. I do have it finally running on one phone. But of course, you know, like any upgrade that has when you use a phone that has a lot of data on it, it has to migrate everything back. And so predictably, this phone, which used to be my daily phone, has a lot of stuff on it. So that one's taken quite a while.
So tell me, why are people so happy about this? What's, why is this
why?
Yeah, why?
Why? Well, I feel like we're in a pretty good place with Windows 10 for PCs, right? There's some big questions around the tablet stuff still, but you know, phone has been kind of sitting there silent for a month, you know, and the last build we got was really buggy. I removed it from most of the phones I was using it on. The one I left it on, I reset it, so it was kind of like a clean install.
And it was like instantaneous, right? Like the bugs appeared immediately. It wasn't like something you used for like a couple of weeks and then it kind of...
A couple of hours.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So, you know, I think a lot of people who are the phone fans have been waiting and kind of hoping for this to happen. And so it has, and that's good. But yeah, it's, I mean, you can tell just looking at it, it's cleaner. You know, it's got a nicer, more kind of finished vibe to it. There's bits that they used to be kind of wonky looking, like you could tell parts of it were just not styled correctly yet and looked weird. And now it looks more like phone to me than it did before.
Okay.
Which, you know, that may or may not mean anything to you, but not always. I mean, there's inconsistencies. Like when you go into system, it looks like all the new stuff. When you go to the all apps list, it looks more like the old version, you know, from Windows 8, Windows Phone 8.1.
So I guess this is like the first, I guess, build that's kind of like, oh, okay, this is happening. This is working well. This is what I kind of want.
Potentially.
It's polished.
I literally just got it up and running, so I don't want to give
explode,
it too much.
Yeah. Let's give it a couple hours.
Give it some time.
You know what's interesting? Because that Verizon story, Verizon is getting the 735.
You just went silent.
Can you hear me? And 1 second. Today's going to be one of those days. Hang on 1 second, guys. I'm going to do the show with the air conditioner today. Can you hear me, Paul?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we have
this is what I heard you say. You said, you know what's interesting?
Nothing.
And then just radio silence.
Yeah, we have this a piece of hardware in the studio that constantly, I think a capacitor's bad. So it'll just shut off and then just go into like this infinite boot. Everybody else hears me. You don't. Because it's like the router for mix minus for Skype.
Yeah.
It's literally a router. It's all IP based. What I was saying was, what's interesting is that the 735 is going to Verizon now.
Yep.
And it's kind of like such a waste of a time, you know, for...
You know what, though? I revisited the 735. In fact, the 735 is the phone that is taking a long time to upgrade because it has so much stuff on it. That's the one I was actually referring to. When I saw that I'd gotten some information about the pricing that Verizon's going to have, which I published over the weekend.
Which is cheap. I mean, it's going to be...
Yeah.
What, almost $200?
Yeah, I don't...
Off contract. I mean, that's flat out if you want to buy it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you want it with a 2-year contract, it's like $30.
Yeah.
It's funny. But I was reminded in using this phone again how wonderful this is. And yes, it was a long time ago. The first time I saw this phone was in August of last year. So we're talking almost a year ago, 10 months ago. It's a mid-level phone. It's not a giant phone. This is the phone. I am holding it. You can see it's still on the blank lock screen. I'm waiting for that.
Size is 4.7 inches, 720 P display.
Yeah.
What is it? 1.4 or 1.3, 1.2 gigahertz quad core. It's a Snapdragon 400 from I think that's what it was. But
Well,
it's totally a mid-range phone. I mean, it's a
it is.
yeah.
But you know what? This phone has that hard to describe something, and it really kind of blew me away last fall when I tested it, because it came out alongside the 830, which I thought was going to be the more impressive device with a much higher resolution camera and some capabilities that would be associated with that. But I found the camera on this device to be excellent, especially for the price class. But there's something about it. It's goofy, but this is the form factor from the 920, which is probably the best-selling Windows Phone handset.
Oh, it's also a beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful phone.
I should say the best-selling flagship handset. It's beautiful to touch. It is not heavy in any way. You can pop this back off and put different color backs on it. Supports wireless charging, which I have a wireless charger, which works wonderfully. It's not a 5-inch screen. Yes, it's not like full HD screen, but Windows Phone, I'd argue that doesn't matter. It doesn't have a camera button. I get that. There is something indefinable. I can't explain it, but this is a wonderful device. It really is. And even though it's almost a year old, I wish they had gotten it out 6 months ago on Verizon, whatever. But don't overlook this one. I would take the time to go to a store and look at it.
Can I go and buy it contract free?
I'm not sure what Verizon is doing. I mean, I'm not as up on how Verizon does things, but my understanding is that the $200 version where you don't, pay for it into your bill is contractless, right? Yeah. And I don't know what obviously we have laws now in the United States where they have to unlock phones if you pay for them. So presumably if you pay $200 for this, you would get to keep it. I would say that in a world of, sub $100 Windows phones, and then phones that cost in the 120 to 140 range, this is a step up from those. Okay. And this, for a $200 device, I seriously would give this a shot. It has a selfie camera. If you're into that kind of thing, I'm not, but
I am.
Honestly, the camera is surprisingly good.
So I'm looking on Amazon right now for this phone. Right, if I want to get a Lumia 735. Right. I really can't. What other carriers have it currently? Because
none in the United States. That's the problem. So if you want to use this on AT&T like I'm doing, you can get an international unlocked GSM version. It's not going to be for LTE. And so the Verizon one has a couple perks. I mean, for one thing, they're keeping the wireless charging, which carriers don't always do. They have some unique colors, including a red version that will be unique to Verizon. It will have LTE on Verizon, which obviously is important. And it will support HD voice, which is voice over LTE, essentially. Yeah. This is a great.
Okay, so I got a great
little phone. It really is.
I just got a great question. How does this compare to the blue Windows HD?
Yeah, so it's the old one or the new one. So the new one, I don't remember specs off the top of my head, but I'm going to guess and say the new one is probably like a 410 processor. Can you look that up as I say?
I can look it up. What is it called? Is it the 5 inches?
Blue HD. It's Blue Win HD, but there's a 2014 model and a 2015 model. Okay, it's a 5-inch screen, I believe.
Yeah, so this is a Snapdragon 200.
Oh, it's a 200, so it's actually a lower-end processor.
It's a lower-end processor. I wonder if there's another one here.
They're probably pretty comparable. I mean, the Blue is going to have a bigger screen. The Lumia is going to have access to those Lumia apps, which I think is super important. It's hard for me to recommend a non-Lumia Windows phone for that reason alone. Yeah,
I mean, it's probably the best bet.
I think so.
Yeah.
Everything else being equal, and I mean, I wouldn't buy one personally.
I'm just fascinated by the fact that they're releasing it now. Now is the time that they're releasing this when they are Verizon, a couple months away, and
they're terrible.
They're gonna have all new phones.
Yep.
The other problem is they don't have a flagship phone for Windows. I mean, they have the icon, but that's pretty outdated now.
I don't even think you could find that if you had to. I mean, they have the HTC One M8, right, which is itself basically a year-old design as well. And I wouldn't recommend that because of the Lumia stuff, and the camera is terrible. There's not a lot of choice in Verizon right now.
That's unbelievable. I mean, well, if you think about it, what do you got on AT&T, right? If you want a flagship right now.
Well, we're in the same situation, right? So
Yeah.
we had the 1520. That's really hard to find now. We had the 1020. That's long gone and is not really a flagship from a specs perspective, except for the camera. Um, that's it. I mean, we never got an Icon 930.
By the way, the Icon has been gone for 6 months, according to E2 and Notch. So, I mean, you really don't have a choice if you're on Verizon, and that kind of stinks.
Yep.
Is that the carrier, or is that
this is not an iPhone 6 competitor. If you're in the market for an S6, an iPhone 6, this is not the Windows Phone that goes up against that. But if you're looking for a low cost, mid range device, it's not a burner phone. It has a nice camera. It's like I said, it's weird, but it's beautiful. It's wonderful to hold. Like I remember doing last fall. You tend to kind of just run it around in your hand because it just feels so neat. And it's a nice size. If you're used to really big phones, which I prefer, usually there's something pretty cool about something you kind of drop into a pocket. You forget it's even there. You can't even tell it's there. It's so tiny.
What would my experience be on? Well, it's hard for you to tell because you're upgrading it. So if I get this phone right now, right, without a contract, $200, not a bad deal. Even if I don't really connect it, I have an open plan, a Verizon plan that I'm not using. Connected to that. A couple months from now, Windows Phone 10 comes out. How's my experience on Windows 10 going to be on this phone?
Yeah, I can't. I assume it's going to be pretty good. I mean, I put it on a 640. I have it on a 930, which is a high-end phone.
I guess they're no Apple, Paul. They can't guarantee us 40 to 50% better performance on the latest version of the operating system.
No, we're not going to hear those kind of numbers.
Yeah. That's why I'm sticking with
Windows Phone is already very efficient for low-end hardware. I mean, so when you look at processor names and you look at RAM to a lesser extent, although I think 1 gigabyte is a nice place to start with RAM on Windows Phone. Storage, because it's expandable. It's not directly comparable to Android because the system is so much more efficient. This is not this thing that just came up. Did it? Yes. All right, so that upgrade is completed, by the way.
How long was the process?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at Twitter. It took a long, long time. But again, this was my phone. For several months, this was my phone. So it's loaded down with, I have an SD card in here. I have lots and lots of photos. We'll see how this goes. It needs a little time. So it's just kind of coming back to life here. But I think it's going to be okay. I mean, it's kind of hard to say with Windows Phone, with Windows 10, what that really is going to look like for people. I mean, it's not clear yet, but the look of it is in this build, I would say is pretty nice.
Excellent. I'm hoping that it's actually a positive step in the right direction rather than crashing. I had a couple questions for you based on last week's show that we did. I don't know if I should hold that till the end of the show or... You know what? I'm going to wait till the end because I want to talk about E3 with you and Microsoft and everything that happened on the Microsoft side. A lot of good and some bad with Call of Duty. I know that that's a big loss for you, Paul.
I don't want to talk about that right
now. Are you gonna go and get a PS4 now?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I have a PlayStation. I don't really ever use it. I'll just wait. Honestly, I think the thing that, if we're gonna just talk about Call of Duty first, I guess the thing I would say there is that for 7 years or however that works out, from Modern Warfare on, actually for me it goes back further than that. I mean, from 2005 on, Call of Duty 2, which was shipped concurrently with the Xbox 360 in 2005. Every year I buy Call of Duty, and every year I pretty much play that Call of Duty game online, multiplayer. And with recent games, there have been map packs. Actually, Call of Duty 2 had map packs as well, but they have like the season pass type thing that they do. There are the zombie games and all that. And you basically have like this year, or I do, where this is most of what I do gaming-wise, is just wait for the next map pack, play just those maps for a while, go back, mix and match and all that kind of stuff. And so it's been like that for a long, long time for me. Last year was the first time this past year where that most recent Call of Duty game, which is sort of like a Titanfall game, really, where you get the leaping around stuff, really changes the tenor of the game. And for me, it lost something. In fact, I spent a part of today playing that game again. I went and I signed up for the season pass like a goon because I do every year anyway. So I'd never even downloaded the last 2 map packs. So I downloaded those today, and I played them, and the maps look nice and everything. But the truth is, like, there's something about the play style multiplayer in this most recent game that I just don't like.
You're not crazy about it. Okay.
And that's the first time it's ever happened. And this past year, I've been playing all the old Call of Duty games instead online. You know, Modern Warfare, those 3 games, the Black Ops games, Ghost, which actually I think holds up very well from a multiplayer perspective. And when for example, Sony and Activision put out a multiplayer trailer for Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which will be the first one where the DLC appears first on PlayStation, not Xbox. Normally, that would be very upsetting to me, but based on the trailer, it looks a lot like Advanced Warfare, whatever the new one's called, the most recent one. And I don't like that one. And it looks nice, but I'm like, I don't know. So this might be the first one, not like this current game is the first one I didn't really play through all year long. It already hasn't happened. I don't see that changing. The next one, I might not get the season pass. I may evaluate the map packs as they come, and we'll see how it goes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you end up doing with it.
So I will say this, if you're into Call of Duty in particular or shooters in general, obviously there are other choices. Some of the big name ones that are going to happen on Xbox One are not actually super interesting to me, although I will play both of them, Halo 5 and Gears of War 4. I'm much more interested in things like the new Ghost Recon game. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see it, yeah.
Or the new Rainbow Six game. And those are basically those are similar titles in some ways. I mean, they're both like Tom Clancy type games.
I mean, those first person shooters are into Tom Clancy stuff. I mean, that's the future of these consoles, right? That's what people are buying.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, Call of Duty, there's a lot of backlash against, games like Call of Duty that are super popular. And people, will say things like, oh, they haven't had a new idea in 10 years, and it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, but that's every video game. I mean, the concept of gaming
is every one of your favorite bands. It's every one of your favorite movie series. I mean, I hear you. I mean, so I get it. But I think that they've, to date, done a good job of doing the stuff that works repeatedly and adding new things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And for me, the big new thing from the latest game doesn't work at all, and that's a problem. And it looks like they're doing more of it in the next game. So I'm not going to ignore it. I mean, I'll play the game. We'll see how it goes. But I have my eye open now for other things. It's not going to be Battlefront, I can tell you that.
It's not going to be Battlefront. Why? You're not a fan of that
if I wanted to
franchise,
sit in a corner and not shoot anybody, I would just do that in my own house.
Is it that it's too slow for you, or?
Yeah, it's too slow. It's generally speaking, I'm just generalizing, and I know people will take exception to this, but generally speaking, it's giant maps where people just don't move around, and they kind of sit in a corner and they wait. And if somebody runs by, they just snipe them, and they get their 2 kills for the whole level, and an hour passes and they're done. And to me, that's not interesting. I like the kind of frenetic team deathmatch stuff. I mean, Call of Duty has lots of game modes that I don't play. I pretty much just stick to team deathmatch. And team deathmatch, despite its name, has nothing to do with teams, although there are 2 teams, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that I'm not trying to help any of those other guys on my team do anything good. In fact, I'm actively working to ensure that they don't, which, I like. So, I mean, for me, it's just it's the right mix. The other thing I would just say is that there are games out there that are fantastic that I just don't really have the time to play. This is not maybe a great example, but maybe the past year there was an Alien game that came out, and I kind of played through the beginning of it, and it's got awesome atmosphere. It looks like it's a great story. It's got great reviews and everything, but the problem with that game is you have to actually spend time with it to really get the full experience. You basically turn out the lights, you block out the world, you spend an hour or some hours playing it, and then you do that every night for a week. And for me, Call of Duty multiplayer is nice because I can jump in and out, and I don't really have to. It doesn't matter. I mean, if I lose horribly or if I do wonderfully, it doesn't matter. I can get in and out. It's something I can do between working, because I sit here and my Xbox is here. I can write, and I can write, and I can write, play a couple of games of Call of Duty, and I can write. It's kind of a nice back and forth. It's a break. And I just don't have the time to dedicate to games that are more involved.
And that's been my problem with these games. I mean, and I love them. I mean, they're great, and I'll play it, and it just, after like 30 minutes, I feel lost because I haven't played it in so long, and two, it requires so much more time.
Sure.
Like
Well, the
I
other
can't
issue,
pick up a Call of Duty now and be like, okay, Paul, let's play Call of Duty. You're gonna look at me
well,
like I'm an idiot.
Microsoft is trying to fix this for Halo 5 apparently, but this would be the case in Halo as well, right? If I suddenly decided, well, I'm going to go play the last Halo game, I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to do that, I'd be just as lost, you know. Or Battlefield, maybe there's some elements to that there. What it doesn't matter what game you choose. I mean, pick your game. A little bit lost. I think that's one of the things I don't like about the new Call of Duty, the most recent one. It's different enough that a lot of the strategies I would use that worked fine for 7 years straight, literally, no longer work. And because a lot of this is vertical, jumping in the air kind of stuff. Some people love that stuff. It's fine. I don't. And by the way, I should say there are playlists you can play where it's like classic style. You don't have to jump around or whatever. But I don't know. I need, to me, it's a release. It's just something I can do in downtime. I mean, a lot of what I do is installing phone builds like this. I mean, it's not, I could work on the computer while I'm installing a phone build, obviously, but sometimes, I'm installing Windows and I have to kind of wait for this to happen. And okay, I can play a game. I don't want to get engrossed in it.
That's the problem.
I mean, I want to get back. So that's just me. I mean, everyone has different things. I mean, maybe some people come home and that's what they do. They never watch TV. They spend 3 or 4 hours or 10 hours or whatever it is every night. They play video games, and that's awesome. And certainly there are a lot of great games out there. But I think this Call of Duty thing is kind of a big deal, with the caveat that maybe, it's losing its luster a bit simply because there are so many amazing looking games. And people are, maybe it's time. I mean, maybe people are just moving on, just as we kind of did from Halo or whatever.
I think that's what happened with a lot of these franchises. I mean, people have moved on. Let's. I want to talk to you about the updates to the Xbox One, because I was out and about all day, and I just looked at the headlines when I got back, and the Verge's headline was Microsoft announces new console.
Oh,
okay, and I'm not.
I mean,
I'm not.
I'm on like a rampage against terrible headlines.
I know.
So that kind of thing makes me crazy.
And now I'm like, what? Paul's known this entire time. He hasn't even said a word to me. He's been no selling me this entire time we've been doing it. So and I'm reading the article, and I don't see anything about a new console. I'm like, I want dates, I want prices, I want specs. And I'm looking, I don't see anything about a new console. Pretty much what they were saying was, hey, it's like Microsoft announced a new console because now you have backwards compatibility with the 360.
Yeah, let me paraphrase what they were really saying. I'm trying to be witty, but I'm not really smart enough to be witty. So here's my stupid headline. I mean, look, I think a lot of what Microsoft does is really good. Obviously, I write about it a lot, but I also think they're just ingenuous and dishonest about things sometimes, and it bothers me.
Okay, here's the headline. Here's it before you go into this.
Yep.
The Xbox One is becoming a gaming PC. Microsoft just announced a new console, and it's a PC. If you read that, what do you think?
Right. Please don't don't make me think or say anything about this. Here's the deal. Phil Spencer stood up in front of a giant audience at E3 and said, Xbox 360 games will run natively on Xbox One, and that is not true. It's not true. There's an emulator that they're using. It's not universal. It's not going to work for every single Xbox 360 game. Microsoft has to do work to make individual games run on the system. It's
virtualization. That's what it's doing, right?
It's fine.
Yeah.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with it, but they present it as if it's something that it's not, and that's what I don't like. And if you read their own FAQ, it actually has a question. Well, you said it was running natively. Isn't it more fair to say that it's running in emulation? And it's like, yeah, actually, that is more fair to say. And it's like, seriously. But whatever. The details in some ways don't matter. Well, actually, the details, of course, always matter. So let me put that a different way. Here are the details that matter. It's not going to be every game. If you have a game library of Xbox 360 games, this does not mean that every single one of them will just work on the Xbox One.
As of right now, it's 100.
There's no 360 inside your Xbox One. Although, by the way, it would fit fine. That thing is freaking huge. Microsoft has to work to do the emulation. that's game specific to bring each game to the system. And so they're going to bring the most popular games first. They're going to bring the games that people want first. But there's a second caveat. The game publisher could say, no, we're not going to support that. And if they do, they can't do it. So if Activision says, you know what, we don't want the Call of Duty games on Xbox 360 working on Xbox One. We don't want you to have another place to play those games for free. We want you to buy new games from us at cost. They can do that. You'll notice the Call of Duty games were not part of this announcement, by the way. So we'll see. It's a little, I think people get a little giddy, when they, and I get it. I mean, I'm as excited. The truth is, people often accuse me of being like cynical or snarky or whatever, and I am, but that's what being on Earth this long gets you. I mean, I'm as excited by technology as anybody, but I also have been around the block enough times to know a lot of these bold claims are just bullshit.
So
and I just think people need to think a little bit.
Okay, in the Xbox One. By the way, you wrote a really good write up about this. For if anybody wants to read more about this, go to Paul's site. He explains what this is. It's a modified version of Hyper-V virtualization software, right? That's essentially all it's doing. So it's making it run on there. What's the performance of these games going to be like? Since you're pretty much
I haven't tried it yet. Microsoft says it'll be 100%. Be fine. Look, they did this on the Xbox 360 with the original Xbox games. People kind of forget that. And that was a sort of a clusterfuck of its own. I mean, in the sense that it was a very specific subset of games. It improved over time. The list kept growing. And I'm sure that's what will happen here.
Yeah.
That the Xbox One is powerful enough to do this, I think shouldn't surprise anybody. I don't see any reason why this couldn't work. I wish they had made a way for you to use your Xbox 360 controller in Xbox One. That would have been kind of nice. I actually, having gone back and forth now, I think I prefer it.
The 360 controller.
Yeah, this is for a couple of reasons, but I mean they're both nice, but I think I prefer the 360 version. I think I would prefer it for 360 games.
To be able to go back.
There is some nice integration, I will say. I mean, you can do things like take screenshots or record the screen in Xbox 360 games on Xbox One, just as you can on Xbox One with Xbox One games, right? So that's cool.
So what else did they announce? Because apparently this is a new console, Paul.
So, well, we already knew that that Windows 10 was coming to Xbox One, and so not during their E3 press conference extravaganza, but later in the day, they announced how that was going to happen. And basically, we're going to get a fall system update. We get system updates every single month that are going to deliver a number of things, including an evolved version of the user experience, like the Xbox dashboard, as they call it. They've kind of rejiggered things around in ways that I think are mostly pleasing. If you use Xbox, it doesn't matter which version, but 360 or One, you know that you can press that Xbox button, and this kind of overlay appears in front of the screen, and it's very slow. It kind of comes up, and if you're in the middle of something, and if you hit that button by mistake or on purpose, it can be very disruptive. They're improving that, so it's going to be like kind of a side pane. I think that's smart. It doesn't block the screen, so you can keep playing. There's Cortana, right, coming.
And that's going to be interesting to see how Cortana's going to run on that, and how useful it's going to be.
So it looks interesting. I will say that right now, I hope you can change what you say to trigger this, because it's a lot easier to say Xbox than hey Cortana. But the Xbox, the whatever you call that feature, the voice control functionality, is sort of basic. I mean, you say Xbox, record that. Xbox, take a screenshot. Xbox,
is
whatever.
Is it based off of Cortana? What the Xbox is doing currently?
I mean, I think it's fair to say that Cortana and that functionality are both based off of the same.
Okay.
Yeah, same Microsoft research work, Tell Me technology, et cetera. But in Xbox One with Windows 10, you can say, hey, Cortana, and then it becomes more of a natural conversation, and you get into the conversations with the assistant that you do on phones today, and we'll do on PCs as well. Yeah. And so you for example, on a phone or on a PC, you may say something like, "Hey Cortana, remind me to buy flowers for my wife tomorrow after dinner," or something, and it will actually start to set up a calendar event, I guess, and then it will ask you questions. Is this right? Is there any part of this you want to change? If you accept it, it happens. you can say something like, hey Cortana, invite Amanda to the game was one of them, or say more complex things like, hey Cortana, record the last 2 minutes of this game and then share it to my activity feed, right?
That's pretty
And
complex, yeah.
which is a lot more involved than, hey, Xbox
Record.
or record that or whatever, because you're getting a set amount of time and it goes to your game DVR library, but there's no instance of sharing that occurs. The nice thing about this is you're playing a game, and in the demo they have, it's a racing game, so you're kind of racing down the street. You're interacting with Cortana. It's happening up in the corner over the game. Doesn't block anything, and you can talk to it and keep playing with the controller, and nothing, changes.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of thing is neat, and we'll see how far that goes. I think it's just an evolution of what we had originally, basically.
Any changes done to, I guess, the entertainment aspect of it, of Xbox?
They did not mention a single thing.
I found that fascinating that they did not, right. And I think this is
so
their
obviously,
way of saying, okay,
yeah,
this is
it was so
gaming
explicit it was on purpose, right?
Yeah.
If you have looked at Windows 10, you know that the entertainment apps are changing in that system. I think it's and I think it's fair to say things like the music app, the videos app, the photos app, the OneDrive app, the browser. We're going to get Edge instead of IE. I think that stuff all comes. I don't know if it comes in that exact update. I think this is something that might happen over time. I don't think it really matters, but I think you can expect that stuff to happen too. And I think that they very specifically did not talk about that at E3 because they wanted to leave it at gaming.
I mean, they didn't even discuss the changes that are coming as far as the interface goes.
No, they did
a little bit. Was that Windows 10? That was a Windows 10.
Well, yeah. I mean, so you have to really parse what they say, because they're not calling this. It's Windows 10. I mean, they're aligning the platform, right? It's already, you got to understand, Xbox is already Windows 8. I mean, so they're upgrading the platform. They're updating the UI. It's not the start screen you get in Windows 10 on a tablet. Exactly. It's tailored for the device. That makes sense. They're doing that on the mobile version of Windows 10 for phones. They're doing it on Xbox. They did it for Surface Hub. They're doing it for HoloLens. No issues there, right? No one should expect this to look exactly like Windows 10 on a tablet. I mean, a gaming console has specific needs. It's fine.
It was interesting. I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, and I don't think what Sony's doing is that big of a deal too. People are freaking out that it has MVK support or MKV support.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. You can play the
Windows 10 has that too, by the way.
Yeah. Whoa, it's 2005. We can pirate our videos and watch them on our Xbox. Like I didn't think
it's called embracing the inevitable.
Yeah. Nintendo's announcement today was a travesty. It was exactly what they did last year. They played all these hokey videos. The same exact games that they spoke about last year.
There's no new hardware.
There's no, and they actually at the end he goes, yeah, we're working on some great stuff. A new platform called Nintendo NX that we're not going to talk about this year, and we're going to discuss next year at E3.
Yikes!
Yeah,
so
not even
stick in there,
that
folks.
Was it. No Zelda, no new Mario except for that Mario Builder. Nothing.
Right.
No Metroid. It was ridiculous.
I'm surprised they didn't do. Did they do anything around mobile gaming at all?
No.
I can't believe they ignored that.
I mean, it's just the end. I mean, this is the impending doom. I have no idea if this next console, if it means anything anymore. And that it's running Android. I don't know if that means anything to anybody.
Right. I thought they denied that was happening.
No, that it's running Android or there's a new console.
Yeah,
I don't know. That may be it, but
I thought they did.
I'm baffled. I'm baffled on how a company like that could kind of forget about it. But I guess that's the business that they're in, right? I mean, they're not selling games because they have no original titles. They have 4 original titles. By the way, I'm exaggerating. I'm sure they have more than 4, but they have virtually nothing compared to all the other platform makers. And I guess they've sold whoever's bought it, and they're diehards, and they're selling DSs. That's what they really care about. Nintendo did say it's not Android. They denied it, so nobody cares.
I thought they did. I thought they did.
Yeah. So it was. I don't know. I guess this is not the year that we're going to get this information. It's not happening.
I didn't really pay too much attention to the Sony stuff either. Except for the Call of Duty thing, which. I think it's a big deal, but
Yeah.
others disagree. I, I just don't. There's nothing really going on there that's super exciting to me. I mean, I think dedicated handheld video game platforms are on the far end of the curve. I mean, I think they're kind of going out. I would be surprised if even Nintendo released new, stuff along those lines. I just don't get the point of it at this point.
You know what it is, I was trying to think, why would they want to grab onto the console, right? Like, why are
Yeah.
they locking in their stuff to that one device? And I think it's because they don't want to become Sega, and it's more of a pride thing for them, where they would rather have their products and sell less and be on a smaller platform than to open it up and say, okay, listen, guys, we're gonna make Mario available on iOS, Android, and on our platform.
Right.
I don't think it's going to take away from console sales because they're
I
not selling any consoles.
right.
There's nothing.
We're in a weird space right now because there are these devices like the Amazon Fire TV, the Roku, actually the Google Nexus, whatever the thing's called, the Nexus Play or whatever it is, where you can buy a controller for these things, or you can use the remote as a controller. There's a video game platform that can occur, and Angry Birds is available everywhere, and that's about it. And no, they're like these. I don't think these things have taken off. You can kind of port the Android titles over and on for Fire TV and for the Play device.
I don't understand why it hasn't taken off. Gaming on these devices, it makes no sense why it has not taken off.
Yeah,
Because
there's all this stuff like you can play a game on an iPad or a phone, and you can beam it to a TV. I don't think anyone does that. I don't think anyone. Why would you? You can't. You can't really control easily a touch screen and look at that screen.
look at that screen, yeah.
I think, so we have all these cool capabilities, but none of them have coalesced into anything.
I mean, I guess
Interesting.
it's going to rely on Apple, what they do next with this, and maybe they'll sell a remote, a controller with the next Apple TV, and they're going to say, okay, we're going to have
Sure.
15 titles available at launch, and by
We'll see how
the
that
next
goes, yeah.
quarter, we're going to
I
have
mean,
another 150 we're working
Sure.
with.
But it's unclear what they could do to differentiate it. I mean, obviously they have iOS developers who love the platform. The Apple TV is another avenue for them to get revenues or something, but that's been the theory on Fire TV. It's been the theory on Nexus Play. It's been not really the theory on Roku. But
I mean, but their
I just
issue is enticing developers to make games that will translate well on TV. And that's been the big problem for them, where I don't, maybe it's the Android platform. I'm not a developer, so I don't know. But I know for a fact that a lot of developers would rather develop for iOS for whatever reason.
they're both terrible. I don't see
So,
the difference.
I mean, if Apple were to do it, would that entice their developers? Because
well, Apple's got a lot of power over users and developers, so that's the theory. But I don't know. Apple put out a watch, and I don't really see that taking off either. I mean, I think there are these areas where everyone kind of assumes, the living room's like the next big market, and
nobody's been able to take care of it.
It's kind of not really,
Yeah.
Even though we all, I mean, every one of us plops down in front of a TV at night.
I'll give you an example.
Again, not literally, folks. Please don't write me about that comment. But most people do for hours at a time, every single day.
Here's a great example. Castle Crashers, one of my favorite games of all time. Why? Because it's stupid and easy.
Sure.
And it looks great on the TV.
Yeah. What do you play it on?
I have it on the Xbox and I have it on PlayStation. So I had the PlayStation downstairs and I had the Xbox upstairs, so I will play it on both. But I loved it because it's easy. You can play with your friend. Like it works. Why couldn't Google entice a couple developers to develop games like that? Say, listen, guys, we're going to feature you. It'll be, $5.99 or $6.99, whatever the price is. And we put it on the Nexus player, and at launch, we'll have 15 of these titles. And you guys will be front and center. For if I'm a developer, I would say yes. Absolutely. Let's do this. And they'll throw money at you.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems like this should have happened, and it also seems like it's really not going to happen.
I would love to know,
Doesn't
because
it?
I know we have a lot of developers that watch our show. I would love to hear from you guys as to why we have not seen
Sure.
gaming developers, indie gaming developers, to an extent where it's visible, develop
Yeah.
on these platforms.
Well, none of these markets is huge for one thing, right? First of all, Android devices that are
Very
attached to
small.
TVs
Yeah.
is like 3 people. Apple TV, we know it's several million people, but that's compared to several hundred million people using iOS mobile devices, right? It's a tiny market comparably. Um, how many people are there using Macs, like actual Mac users?
Well, according to
Is
the
it
Wall Street Journal, they need to get rid of it.
well, that guy's a jackass. But all right, but but that is the don't get me all right, don't get me don't get me going down that road.
Oh, I'm gonna bring you
Um,
down that road.
See, you've completely screwed up what I was saying. All right, so the Mac user base, let's say it's 50, is it 50 billion? Is it 75 million people?
Let's say 50.
Is it,
I don't know.
let's say it's 50.
Yeah,
Let's give them let's say it's 50. That's over 10 times the size of the Apple TV user base. And the Apple TV is one of the most successful living room devices of all time. Even, like the Xbox 360, they sold 80-ish million units, but a lot of them were sold to the same people repeatedly because, let's face it, those things red-ringed regularly. But let's just pretend that 40 million people is the effective user base there, or 50 million even if you want to. I mean, it's obviously going down now every day, but let's say it's 40 to 50 million. It's still, it's still not 750 million like you see on iOS. It's still not a billion plus like you see on Android. It's still not a billion plus like you see on Windows.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
That's all. I think that's why. If you would ask a developer, I mean,
numbers,
it's not just about ease of development. I mean, although obviously that's a big deal.
But wouldn't it be enticing? I mean, wouldn't it entice you more to purchase this device if you knew that you had some, not high quality, but quality games you could kind of waste your time and not going to kill yourself while playing it? You're not going to lose your mind like a Call of Duty. If I was Google or Apple, I don't know what Apple's doing, but if I was Amazon, for example, and this is my Hail Mary pass, I need to sell this device. I have the hardware for it. I just need to entice people to develop. Wouldn't I pay out some of these developers to say, okay, listen, we have 10 games that we want on here at launch. Guys, please, I'm going to pay you, and they're going to be quality games. And that's how you create the platform. I understood why Apple couldn't do it because the hardware was crap. Roku was the same story. It was crap it was slower hardware. But Amazon and Google with their latest, Nexus
I think
Play.
the Amazon one, and I don't know, but I haven't even tried games on the Google device, but I know the Amazon one is a very powerful device for that kind of device. Yeah, and there are racing games that actually look really good on it, and you can port Android games over and they work, and can work with a controller. I mean, I would assume there's some market for that kind of thing.
I don't know I know so many people with that device. I don't know one person that is actually gamed on it.
Right, and that's the problem. The whole OnLive thing. I mean, who ever used this service? Almost nobody.
And you know
I
what?
don't know
People
why
are
these
so
things are not popular. I don't know.
People are so excited for that device. I don't know. Maybe the casual gamer does not exist in the living room. That's possibly what it is.
I think that you're right. So casual games used to be you played solitaire on your PC laptop in an airport or something, right?
But
then we got iPads and phones.
I was a casual gamer. You know what I would play? Street Fighter. Or I would buy a latest title. I would play for a little bit.
Where did you play these things? Where?
My Xbox or my PlayStation.
So I was just thinking, picture a typical night at home with the wife or whatever, and you're watching TV together, maybe, and maybe that's 2 or 3 hours on a couch, and you're eating snacks and drinking drinks, and occasionally your wife gets up and uses the bathroom or gets something in the kitchen, or the phone rings and she's on the phone with her mother or whatever it is. And you have these kind of moments of downtime. Maybe one of your kids, you don't have kids, but in my case, my kids come home and interrupt things. We talk to them for a little while, whatever it is. I think there's a thing you can do on the phone that's really interesting where you've got downtime in a grocery checkout line or wherever out in the world where you can putz around on the phone and I might read something. You may want to play a game for a few seconds, whatever it is. It's not natural to do that on a TV,
Yeah, you're right.
If we're watching Game of Thrones and you pause it, right? It's hard even if you're watching TV. I don't know what it's like for you, but if there was a basketball game on or a baseball game and I paused a recorded show
to go check on the game. Yeah.
But it would be hard to do it, right? It's multiple steps to get to the game. And then she comes back and now you want to go back into the recorded thing and you got to hit the right button on the remote, find the show again.
It's clunky. You're absolutely right.
It's clunky, right? So it seems like and this is the thing when Steve Jobs talked about, we nailed it or we figured it out or we cracked the nut, whatever he said about TV, I almost thought that that's what he meant. That what he meant was the user experience. That the thing that maybe Apple had gotten right, which now I guess is never going to happen, was that they figured out those transitions.
Yeah.
It would be very interesting, and you can see it in the Xbox a little bit, the ability to kind of snap things and do two things at once. And mobile devices have this notion of multitasking where you can see all the running apps and kind of flip through them.
Yeah.
It would be interesting on a TV interface if you could switch to a live show, watch it, wife comes back, and it's sort of like alt tab. You just go, and now you're right back where you were.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works, right?
Well,
it's
I think
multiple steps.
that's the problem with YouTube on the big screen. I
Sure.
I have a serious problem watching YouTube videos on the big screen, and I know a lot of people do also, because the amount of effort it takes you to load up a video and find the video and search the video compared to the amount of time you're watching is not worth it.
I literally just did this last night on Apple TV for some reason.
I'm going to give you this exact thing happened. We were watching Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
And I remembered a video that I wanted to show Jess. And I go, oh my God, Jess, let me show you this. And she goes, oh, pull it up on the TV. Can you show me on the TV?
See, my wife at that point, if I had said to her, I've got something I want to show you and it's in YouTube, this is what she would have done. She wouldn't have said this, but it would have been like, that's great, you do that. And then she would have opened her book and just started reading. Because she knows.
Oh, it's going to take a while.
Me interacting with the TV and doing anything with tech, this is going to take a while.
Yeah.
This is not going to go well.
I attempted to pause. We were on the Amazon Fire. I stopped on the Amazon.
We're on the Amazon.
We're on the Amazons, Paul. On the Facebooks and on the Twitters.
You're already talking like an old guy.
I know, it's happening.
Yeah, we were on the Amazon.
It's happening.
Not the river, the Amazon device in my living room.
I was using the Amazon. And then I hit pay. Nothing happened. So I wanted to show this video, and it's like a 3-minute video.
Sure.
I pause it. I start the new app. I go. And now I'm also doing it on my phone because my remote doesn't work. So I'm typing it in. You see it. I hit enter. It doesn't work. And then I find the video. And it's like 15 of the same video that I got to pick and choose which one it is instead of like, is it the video or is there some idiot doing live commentary over the video? It took like 10 minutes. I was like, what am I doing? I actually stopped it. I'm like, what am I doing? I just pulled it up on my laptop within like 30 seconds.
By the way, on a semi-related note, I signed into the YouTube app on Apple TV, which is hilarious in its own right. Even just finding where you do that is funny. And the first video that it recommended to me was 10 classic or whatever it was, 10 classic Steve Jobs freakouts. And it was basically Steve Jobs on stage yelling at people.
That's perfect. Did you watch it?
So I watched it. I actually found it to be quite enjoyable. I miss that guy. What a dick.
Loved it.
He was so great.
Oh, God.
It really was.
But again, it's you know what the future is something, and I'm surprised Xbox would not be the future of something like this, where you're talking to you go Xbox, load up YouTube, and then you'll go Xbox, search, Paul Thurrott freak out 2015, and then it pulls it up, and what it could do like a snap, it could do a picture in picture, you could that's.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying this is the interface, but when the Xbox One dashboard update they're making this fall, they have kind of it's almost like one of those collapsible menus you see all the time in mobile apps or the hamburger menu, where the thing kind of comes in over whatever you're looking at, just on the side.
Yeah.
And you've got these options, and they're all related to game playing. It's like your friend lists, notifications, messages, all that kind of stuff. But you could kind of see how this could be adapted in a living room environment, which of course the Xbox is in, to work for entertainment as well. And I think it's possible. I really do think it's possible for someone to get this.
So
it's just that they haven't done
it. Surprisingly, the Daily Motion app on the Fire, I haven't used it on the other ones, but I was watching, and Daily Motion is really good for like really obscure videos that YouTube is going to flag and take down due to copyright stuff. Right. By the way, they are a content partner of ours. And I do not, and they are not advocating piracy. They just have not caught these people yet. So I was watching really obscure Japanese pro wrestling yesterday. And it creates the algorithm, I guess, it uses to kind of determine, like, okay, well, if you watch this one, you're probably going to want to watch this one. It was exactly what I wanted to watch. And they were all long-form videos. It wasn't like one was 20 minutes and the other one was like a 4-minute crap fest that somebody shot with their phone, It was actually like the videos. So I spent like the afternoon just watching just its recommended video
Yeah,
suggestions,
yeah,
and
yeah.
every single one worked for me.
What was this on? What was the
Daily
device?
Motion.
No, no, but where did you
Oh,
do this?
on my Fire TV.
And are there ads?
No,
I was struck by how many ads there were on YouTube on Apple TV.
it depends on the day that you use it.
Oh, really?
Some days, yeah. Some days there's like no ads.
They're
And other
all
days,
they're all
like
like
Tide.
skippable.
Yeah,
But they're all Tide ads. Yeah,
they're all Tide.
but I mean, it's interesting to me to see like an Apple TV UI, like a little picture of the remote kind of comes up and it's like press over here to skip.
Yeah.
It actually shows you, how to get out of it. It's funny.
I think the transition from not traditional media like what you watch on Netflix and Hulu, but
Sure.
online content, that is, I don't know if it'll ever translate well on a bigger screen on a TV. I think the fact that we're able to say F this video and hit X immediately,
Right.
because our attention
Well,
span
there's
is,
also the issue when you're looking at something that's on a big screen. And you can see this if you're watching Orange is the New Black. I mean, sometimes it's like Saturday night and Netflix isn't working so great.
yeah.
And I'm sure you've made this exact comment. You look at the screen, you're like, this is like watching a YouTube video.
Yeah.
Because it's all, not pixelated. It's all like, it's muddy like a watercolor.
Well, that's the
painting
other
or
problem with YouTube, right? Because there's so much content on there from so many years ago where
something. A lot of it's
you have 10
240,
years of
136,
I mean,
Yeah.
10
Yep.
years of awful videos. Majority of the videos uploaded to YouTube are in the worst quality with the worst video, and they look awful. So I think what's going to happen for them is that when you watch something on the big screen, they're going to probably have, and maybe it exists now and that I have not found yet, but they're going to have to split this type of content that you would watch on the big screen from the personal videos people are putting up.
Right.
Those cat videos that somebody made. I think they're going to have to kind of go through it
have
manually.
like a pro section and a indie section.
I guess like a pro section and like an amateur section, but like maybe someone could go through and kind of
Although,
figure out what
there
works
is-
and what doesn't.
There is a sense of that. I mean, in fact, I noticed on the on that YouTube app on Apple TV, it actually had my purchased Google Play movie content was in there, right? So there's no, as I say that sounds impossible, but I think it was.
Yeah.
There's no way to get Google Play content on an Apple TV, but I believe there was some of it in there.
Yeah, like I have an account that I use where I only set it up on my Fire TV and my Apple TV, where it's stuff that I would watch, like all these different subscriptions that I would only watch on the big screen. That would only work well on the big screen. I mean, they work well obviously on a laptop, but it's not like Paul Thurrott's, vlog page. I'm not subscribing to that.
Sure.
Today was a rough day at school. Janet wore the same dress as me. I don't know what to do. I'm not. That's
You are reading my blog.
I am reading your blog actually, only on my computer though, not on the big screen. So I don't know. It's a weird little thing. So guys, this is what we're gonna do. Paul has a Throwback Tuesday, which you guys are really liking. So we're gonna continue doing it until you hate it, and then we're gonna stop. We're gonna save that for the post show. If you want to watch the post show, obviously we're gonna continue it right after we record this show. We're gonna just go right into it. If you want to watch it on demand, you want to help us out, throw us a couple bucks. You could do so by going to patreon.com/whatthetech. We accept everything. Nickels, dimes, quarters, except for pennies, because nobody likes pennies.
Shekels.
Shekels.
Take shekels.
You could fund us, and that goes to continuing to do this. If you want to help us out in a different way, you want to help the GFQ network out in a different way, you could use our Amazon link by going to gfq.co/Amazon. That's gfq.co/Amazon. I keep forgetting it. And whenever you make a purchase, bookmark that. Whenever you make a purchase, we got a tiny little credit, and it goes to helping us out. Like, I need a new chair, because have you seen this chair? Look at that. Like, it's falling apart. So I'm gonna buy a new chair with that Amazon money.
Nice.
That Amazon money that you guys are providing us. So
Money from the Amazon.
from the Amazon, yeah, from the trees. So I appreciate everything that you guys do. Paul, anything coming up? I know you do a phenomenal show on Wednesdays called Windows Weekly. You talk about different types of Windows, Anderson Windows.
Different.
Different window
We
companies.
really only talk about one type of Windows, but
okay.
yeah, no, that's about it.
Windows Weekly, Mary Jo Foley and Leah Laporte. Mary Jo Foley actually did a great interview with Ayaz this weekend, and it should be posted next week. We record his show, Quest for Peace, which he wants to have you on, actually. He wants to know how you
Screw
find
that guy.
peace. Screw out, IS. I was like, I was talking to him, and we're trying to do a show where he hosts What the Tech with you one week.
Wow.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Okay.
It'd be like a Bizarro World. Another swarthy-looking guy would be.
It would be like 37 minutes into it. I'd be like, "You're not Andrew, are you?"
You're not Andrew. No, I'm not. So he recorded this. It was a great interview, Mary Jo Foley. It's to be posted next week on the website if anybody else is interested in that. Thurrott.com, all things Paul Thurrott. He posts articles, blogs, news, everything on there. Of course, you can follow Paul on Twitter at Thurrott. You can follow me at Andrew Zarian. And that's it. Also, guys, subscribe to the podcast. We're everywhere podcasts are available, so please subscribe. It helps us out. We have an audio version, an SD version, and an HD version. Subscribe to all of them. Just click subscribe over and over again. All right, guys. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.